everything. You can check out the show on there if you would like.
Let's hope no internet connection issues today.
Worked good,
with, talked to our guys in engineering. Can try to get stuff squared away. Do you think your future wife will wear stuff to support you? I saw Matt Coutreau's wife was wearing a Coutreau jersey. I thought that's nice. So do you think, would she wear a Cody and Gold shirt in public,
A Cody and Gold t-shirt? Sure, why not? Does your wife have a Cody and Gold t-shirt?
She does.
Yes, and the answer is yes.
I always hesitate to wear that. Like, I don't mind wearing it to work.
Yeah.
But in public, I'm always a little hesitant because if we just happen to run into somebody who listens to the show, and I'm just walking around in a shirt that says our show name, does that seem conceited?
I'll wear it to the pool.
Weird?
I'll wear it to the pool, and I'll wear it around the house or as an undershirt. But I'm with you. I don't think I would go like out and about with it, with the Cody and Gold shirt. Because you get kind of like it's your shirt.
Yeah, it feels kind of weird. But I like this shirt. I like the logo of the shirt. We got to get some new shirts. Hey, maybe if we hit a home run with this Amazon box that we're expecting, this Amazon return box, maybe we could buy some shirts. We
do need some new Cody and Gold t-shirts. I think that's the next move, honestly. That's why we shouldn't waste too much money on pallets. I think we should focus on version 2 of Cody and Gold t-shirts. We did an initial batch when we first started the show. In January, it'll be 4 years. So I think at the 4-year mark, we need some new t-shirts to hand out to listeners.
I think we could do that. I think that's more than viable. Maybe a t-shirt drop. That way, anybody who helped pay for the Taylor Swift t-shirts is essentially giving themselves an opportunity to get a free Cody and Gold one.
I like that option better than going and getting a pallet with whatever we get from the box.
I don't like it as much, I'll be honest. I would still like to get the pallet. That way the t-shirts are practically free. Do you see how this works? We make money on the pallet, then the t-shirts are paying for themselves.
Yeah. Someone says, wait, Gold, you wear a shirt in the pool? No, I mean to the pool. No, I'm not shirt in the pool guy.
By the pool.
Yeah, like, when you're going, like at my apartment has a pool, you'll walk to the pool. I'm not shirtless walking from my apartment all the way to the clubhouse.
I bet if you looked like Tay Diggs, you would be.
Well, sure. Yeah, if I was
I bet if you were just like ripped,
yeah.
you'd walk shirtless the whole way down to the pool.
But no, I've never been shirt in the pool guy. I haven't been. I may not be jacked, but I don't need to wear a pool in the shirt. Or a shirt in the pool. Thank you.
Just seems uncomfortable. I'm not doing that either. I'm 100% with you. This is a statement of fact, I guess. Now we've covered that. Another important Cody and Gold lesson versus the ones that we typically talk about that are related to football, which I think someone had a really good point. And I'll be honest, I 1,000% agree with the stance, which was somebody was again pointing out after Josh McDaniels failed and that report from the Boston Globe that maybe Bill Belichick could be out on his ass depending on if he loses in Germany or not. Let's just face the quick reality here. The Patriot way was a lie designed to fool all of you into operating your football team in a way that should have never existed. As a matter of fact, I would like this show, moving forward, to not use the Patriot way as a model for success or dynasty run type football. The only reason it ever worked is because Tom Brady existed. And if 10 years from now, people are trying to pitch the Brett Veach way, good, let him. Because a huge reason why Brett Veach will work, and he's a good GM, he's a great GM, he's one of the best GMs. But the reason why the Brett Veach way will for sure work, you know why? Because Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes are here. It was a scam. It was a scam the whole time. They weren't running a football team better than anyone else. They just had Tom Brady. That's it. That's the whole Patriot way. You can't just be a jerk to everybody, let every player go, do everything whichever way you want, and more about winning. It didn't mean anything.
Josh McDaniels was just the final nail in the coffin, but like this development isn't a new development, right? I mean, we have known going back to when the Chiefs organization, remember, hired Scott Pioli because of what? The Patriot way, right? And that backfired. He was too busy picking up candy wrappers around the facility and all that kind of stuff, right?
Or waiting for people to pick up a gum wrapper to find out if they're like a good person or not.
Yeah, that's what I meant. That's what I meant. Yeah. But like, so the point being that we've known this for a while. Josh McDaniel will just be the last one that anybody ever got fooled by, right? It's done. It's over. There's no more assistant from the Belichick tree ever going to get a head coaching gig, ever going to get an assistant gig in the NFL. That is toast. That is completely over. That's what's changed. But this Patriot way stuff, I think people have known for a while, right?
That it's fraudulent. It just feels more fraudulent than ever. Especially with Bill struggling. He's had 4 years in the post-Tom Brady era. He has a sub-500 record. There's at times when they are passable. It's just this, and he's done the same things, right? He'll let good players go, Gold, and be like, oh, we can let go of Chandler. We can let go of whoever we want. And it doesn't matter. We can let go of Jacoby Myers. We'll just replace him with N'Keal Harry. You're like, no, you won't. The only reasons those worked before was because of the guys you have in place. Look, someone's going to make the argument if the Chiefs go out and win the Super Bowl that you do not need elite wide receivers in order to win a Super Bowl. You can do it the Brett Veach way, and you can build a great defense and a good offensive line and just let Patrick Mahomes be good enough to win you a Super Bowl. And it's not accurate unless you have Patrick Mahomes. There is no singular way to win in the NFL for teams without an elite quarterback that you can just copy. Can't just pluck anyone off of the Chiefs staff and just assume it will be successful anywhere because they have Patrick Mahomes here. It is a completely different standard. It's just I view the NFL differently. Because for a while, I did think the Patriots, like when I was younger, I thought the Patriots were just operating at a higher level, always letting go of a guy a year early instead of a year two. Any of this nonsense that I believed for years about their methodology. And it turns out it was just Tom Brady. That's it. That was it. That was the whole.
It's amazing how quickly things shift, though. I mean, even if we're talking about Belichick and legacy and how many wins can he get to, and can he break Don Shula's all-time win record where he's, 28 wins away or whatever it is, to actually match that. And now to a point where there's a report from the Boston Globe, as we mentioned on yesterday's show, that maybe he gets fired if they lose in Germany, although I still don't believe that's actually what's going to happen. I believe they will at least give someone that brought them 6 championships the rest of the season. And if they want to trade him in the offseason or mutually part ways, they want to phrase it like that in the offseason, sure, that's one thing. But to think that now, if I were to ask you, do you think Bill Belichick is going to become the all-time winningest coach in NFL history? Your answer is probably no now. But 5 years ago, you would have been like, well, duh. But now he's probably not going to be in New England next year. And then will anybody else hire him? Before, again, you would have said, yes. Well, duh, of course. I'm not so sure. The reason why I'm not so sure is because he's been the general manager as well. He's had power, and it's not easy for somebody in his position to all of a sudden give up the power even in a new situation.
Parcells did it once. The only argument
That's
I have is,
yeah.
But Parcells is his mentor. That's his guy, right? And Parcells once at the end, right, gave up that end. Andy Reid gave it up. It can happen, but God, it doesn't feel like Bill's going to do it, does it? And he should. It's just, whatever it was 20 years ago, I honestly think you probably could have done both jobs 20 years ago. The job is a lot bigger now. You can't do both. There's too many moving pieces. There's too many things. It's also why there's a team president and a GM and a salary cap expert. Hell, it's why coaching staffs used to just have an offensive coordinator and then like 2 other dudes. Now there's a passing game coordinator and somebody who teaches just footwork or whatever. Times change and these jobs become more important. You can't do them all. That's really what was the undoing of Bill here in this situation. What I like about this is there will be people who try to copy the way the Chiefs do it. There's no doubt. Like these teams who have an elite quarterback and all of a sudden can't afford the elite wide receiver. Think about the methodology. Chiefs go on and win the Super Bowl this year, and we've all been frustrated with the wide receiver. But if they go and win the Super Bowl this year, the argument will be wide receivers are too expensive. You can take all of that money and build one of the league's best damn defenses in the NFL and just let your star quarterback be a star at the important moments of the game, and boom, done, Super Bowl time. We're all done here. But, and I hope that teams try to mimic that.
Andy Reid's coaching tree is far more impressive in success than what Bill Belichick had, though, right? We just got done mentioning. Other than Bill O'Brien's been the best one of the Belichick coaching tree, right? And he did win a couple division titles for the Texans, but nobody really holds Bill O'Brien in all that high regard.
No.
But he's been the best. And Mike Vrabel, again, was not an assistant for Belichick. He played for Belichick. He's the exception, but he's also not part of the coaching tree for Belichick. Whereas Andy Reid, we know Doug Peterson left, goes and wins a ring with the Eagles, gets fired or let go, then ends up in Jacksonville. We know Matt Nagy goes to Chicago, makes the playoffs a couple years and gets fired. Now he's back. Eric Bieniemy couldn't get a head coaching gig. He's now an assistant. These are recent assistants under Andy Reid.
Like Sean McDermott and others that are like further down the list.
But in the front office, if you're talking about like Brett Veach and like mimicking front office style and all that, I mean, Ryan Poles is now the GM in Chicago. We'll see how long that lasts. They're obviously in a tricky spot. They got draft capital and all this, but pressure is going to be on him in the next year.
And they haven't been good lately.
Pressure will be on him in big time in the next year. So, fortunately for him, he didn't draft Justin Fields, right? So he gets a shot to go find his guy.
And Borgonzi or Tillis, and if any of these other guys from the front office, if they ever get plucked away, we'll find out again. But I'm just telling you, like Brett Veach is a great GM. He's one of the best GMs in the NFL. But we're also just pretending like this was Belichick's mistake. Belichick just always thought he had the answers and he was just a genius and smarter than everybody. And defensively, I think you could probably make that argument. But for all these other things that he was like, I'm just better at everybody else. Brett Veach should very quickly realize that he's not the smartest person in the room at all times. He has Patrick Mahomes, so his job is infinitely easier. It's just easier. You got the easiest GM job in the league. You have a Hall of Fame head coach at the peak of his powers and the best quarterback in the league, one of the best quarterbacks in NFL history. Like, Gold, you would not be a half bad GM for the Chiefs if they just let you keep everyone else who was
I'd be
employed.
great, Cody. I'd be great, actually.
I'm not willing to go that far.
I'd be great.
I said you wouldn't be half bad.
I would be terrific.
I'm not willing to say you'd be as good as Brett Veach. I'm just saying you wouldn't be half bad. You know, you could probably do a semi-passable job just as long as everyone else got to stay employed. Like, your only job was just to make sure that those guys were doing like an okay job, you know? Like, who do you guys want me to take? Thanks, college scouting director. And just be real quick.
Which, by the way, should be how it always is. Just surround yourself with successful people. Usually that bodes well for you.
Yeah.
That works in every line of work.
For the most part, yeah. Except for, in radio, we only ever work with like 4 people, so it's really hard to decide how any of that functions. But in most normal jobs, yeah, totally agree. What's considered success at are we successful? Are you a successful person? If somebody said, hey, Alex, do you feel like you're successful? Is your answer yes?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I hesitate. I'm like,
yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, doesn't mean that you're
mildly.
It doesn't mean you are
not a failure.
No, what's the word I'm looking for? Content, right? Doesn't mean you're content with where you're at.
That's a real Andy answer,
right?
We can always get better.
But yeah, I think we've done well for ourselves. I think that's fair.
Drew just smiled. Drew, are you a successful person? How do you view your life?
I would say yeah. So far,
that did not air of confidence.
Oh, okay.
You made it real far in this world, Drew. I believe in you.
I was trying to figure out, as we all have been, right, the offensive struggles for the Chiefs. And I know that Pro Football Focus is by no means perfect. You can poke holes in it. But there was one stat that was floating around that maybe tells the entire story for what's been going on and what's the biggest difference, other than, well, the wide receivers have not been living up to what the organization believed they would be this year. So this comes from PFF. And this is Patrick Mahomes on 20-plus yard throws this year compared to the prior 3 seasons.
This used to be his bread and butter.
So go back to 2020, where he had a grade of 90.9, 13 touchdowns, 5 picks. 2021, a higher grade actually, 91.8, 7 touchdowns, 3 interceptions on passes, 20 yards or more. Last year, a 93.3 grade, 3 touchdowns, 3 picks on passes, 20-plus yards or more. This year, his lowest grade by far on 20-plus, 66.7, 1 touchdown, 7 interceptions.
Of his 8 picks.
1 touchdown, 7 picks, and yes, 7 of his 8 interceptions.
By the way, the 8th one is off of Kadarius Toney's hands in week 1.
Against Detroit.
I remember that one being
we all do.
20.
We all remember that one. But there's your story. I mean, there is no deep passing game. And you want to know why we talk about trust. I mean, when you're having those kind of numbers deep, your wide receivers
why the hell would you ever throw it down there?
Are protecting you either. Yes, you got to make better throws and decisions, but 20-plus yard throws are not really something that you can feel confident about the rest of the season right now based off of where the numbers are. 1 touchdown and 7 picks.
Is this not something they can fix? Can they not, one thing we have credited Andy for, and I don't think falsely credit him for, is his ability to scheme guys open. They've had a better average yards of separation, even at wide receivers I didn't trust, right? In previous years, they were good at getting separation for their wide receiver unit. Can he not create that downfield? For 7 of his 8 picks to all be 20 yards down the field says everything you need to know about the interceptions. They're not total backbreakers, okay? They are all downfield as he tries to push the ball, and none of these guys are getting the separation you would expect them to be able to get to avoid the interceptions. This is a bit scary, but it also, to me, seems fixable. I don't think we're going back to 3 years ago because they don't have that. They don't have Tyreek Hill anymore, right? Okay. But last year they were a competent downfield passing team. They had more 20-plus yard plays than anyone in the NFL because they kept things in front and pushed it further. I think teams have stayed in on the Chiefs and will continue to stay in on the Chiefs until they consistently hit some passes down the field. I still told you, I wonder if Patrick Mahomes lost his touch for it a little bit because he's not getting to throw it. And I understand, be like, Cody, he gets to be practiced all the time. It's different. Or the combination of wide receivers he didn't trust. What's weird about it is Juju Smith-Schuster wasn't a down-the-field 20-plus yard guy, so why aren't these same people? Why aren't these there? And the other guy to me is, why aren't you trying to use Rashee Rice in this? Are we sure Rashee Rice seeing how they have like 17 slot wide receivers. Are you sure that Kadarius Toney can't take an extra slot snap? Rashee Rice line up on the outside, and we consider a jump ball, back shoulder throw, something that was his really strong draft ability, and not see if that's a way we can get the ball down the field? Because I think they got to start getting creative with it. Otherwise, we're stuck.
Well, this is the benefit of the bye week. And this is the big question. I mean, yesterday we were discussing what can change back half of the season. And if you are the coaching staff, your job is to put these guys in the best position possible with their skill set. Nobody knows their skill set better than those guys. And so they have to figure out how can they get those guys in better positions and better spots to have success in the second half. Like that's what has to happen, because this is the personnel that you're going to have. And so, yeah, whether they believe that part of this solution in terms of stretching the field a little bit is Rashee Rice part of that, I don't know, right? They've got to make that determination. The one thing I still will say over and over is that Kadarius Toney does need to be more involved in this offense. I mean, you see the one play in particular that he had on Sunday where it's just a fairly basic slant, but he's dragging a couple defenders. He ends up turning it into, what was it, a 15-yard gain or something like that?
He did.
That glimpse, that's where you get excited again.
We're like,
but
please
he's playing 7 snaps a game.
I think part of the problem still is that they don't have an outside guy. But that's the other part with, like, as good of a job as Rashee Rice has done in the middle, and as bad of a job as the other guys have done on the outside, can he not, and I understand he's a rookie, so maybe he's just asking too much, can he not, like, be the Chris Jones of the defensive line? And for plays that we want to see Toney and Sky in the slot, and we think that they can take advantage the same way you can take advantage, Rashee, can we not see if Rashee can be outside too? Like, not every snap. He's earned the right to be in the more comfortable position for him. But occasionally, should we be finding out if he can win one-on-one outside where those guys can't? And at the very least, just win by being bigger and stronger and jumping higher. Because he's the only guy in the roster who does that. We talked about MVS's inability to go up and bully a guy over a football yesterday, and that's been his entire career. Sky Moore's like 5'4". Kadarius Toney weighs like 130 pounds. So it's not them. They're not the guys who are just going to go up, back shoulder, bully ball this, because that's the part of their offense that they don't get downfield. They don't try those things where it is contested coverage, but your guy's just bigger, can box out, can
be honest though, if you're Patrick Mahomes right now,
I wouldn't want to.
What have you seen to trust your wide receivers that if you go throw one up there, that they're going to go get the ball for you?
None.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's part of the problem.
None.
Because I wouldn't trust them right now, and that's something that has to somehow get corrected. But like, are you trusting? Heck, the one example even with McCole Hardman, I know he's only been back for a couple weeks, but his first game, he had the big punt return. But in that same game, there was a deep pass right where it wasn't a great throw from Mahomes, but he also just didn't even try to go for the football. Stuff like that. Are you trusting your wide receivers? And I think the answer is no right now, certainly on passes that are 20-plus yards through the air.
Meanwhile, in college football, the Big Ten has announced today that they're expecting a response from Michigan, as they have said some things to them about the Connor Stallions kid and all the sign-stealing stuff. Do you see how this continues to get even more hilarious? Michigan is now pointing the finger right back, claiming that there's a group of 4 teams in the Big Ten who have been working on their signs anyway to compile a spreadsheet of play calling signals used by Michigan last year and sharing it amongst the teams themselves. He has proof of this, he says, and they sent it to the Big Ten, showing that those programs, including Ohio State, Purdue, and Rutgers, have been sharing those signs. I guess the question I have in this is, if this is just kind of prevalent and it just kind of exists everywhere, Michigan's probably doing it a little bit worse than everyone else, but it kind of sounds like everybody's doing it. I don't really...
Well, these are two different things, right? Saying that you are in communication with another program and you are sharing information. Now, maybe the Big Ten views as a violation of sportsmanship. Otherwise, I feel like
it would be.
I feel like that happens. I mean, heck, high school teams and high school coaches will talk to other high school coaches in the area and share game film about an opponent or whatever. Like that stuff happens all the time. I don't have as much of an issue with that. The reason why Michigan's in hot water is, again, because they maybe had a staffer allegedly on the sideline that was, or not on the sideline, but, well, in one case maybe in Central Michigan, but having people go and film the sideline, and that's how they were getting signs. That's whole different than, to me, random staffer at Ohio State is texting with staffer at Purdue and saying, hey, man, we just played Michigan, and they're doing this. Like, I feel like that stuff happens in every sport.
I think that they discuss those things. Like, there's actually a clip from Kevin Clark's podcast a couple weeks ago. Dominic Foxworth was talking about this when they beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl when he was with the Broncos. Or not the Patriots, whoever, I don't remember who they beat. Whoever they beat in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And he was talking about their coaching staff. Bill Belichick gave him a tip. He gave him a tip.
I think it happens a lot, man.
He gave him a tip, and he's like, hey, by the way, you can know exactly where this guy is going to do and when he's going to do it if you pay attention to this one player. Like, Bill figured it out.
Yeah, that's different than what Michigan's been. Michigan's putting this out there to try to make it seem like, oh, everyone's
guilty of this.
What they're saying other schools were doing, I don't deny that they were. That's way different than having a staffer go to games a week in advance and videotape the sideline. That's not the same thing.
This is hey, I coached this guy in high school and now he's a college coach, or I brought this guy up, or he was a part of my assistant coaching tree, and I just want to learn a little bit more about this opponent. Do you have anything on him? That's what
in a weird
is
way,
happening.
I don't, like, you guys are minimizing it a little bit, I think.
I think it happens everywhere, Cody.
I think if 4 schools are in a giant email chain of, hey, we've got their signs, this all points to one thing. College football has to take this moment, like anybody does, right? When things go really bad. Like when the refereeing was so bad, they're like, we got to end this ref strike in the NFL, and we got to fix it. They should take this as the moment is we're done here. We are all, no more this is like, we're just testing it for bowl games. We are fully going headset communication with our players going forward. It is insane that in college, they are still having them throw up signs anyway. Major League Baseball is one of the slowest moving sports on the planet, and they're done with signs. You know why? You know, honestly, why PitchCom picked up track faster than it did? Because the Astros were stealing them and banging on trash cans. The second you have a scandal, fix it. The simple solution to fix it is let them communicate via a headset. That solves the whole
tablets not approved as well.
During bowl games this year, they're going to actually allow tablets and have, like in the NFL, a speaker in the helmet of the quarterback, which, by the way, for their own development and growth, to me, is something that should be occurring to begin with. But yeah, they don't have to have the big cardboard or poster board on the sideline with a picture of Taylor Swift and Jay-Z, and Jay-Z means this and Taylor Swift means that, and looking back towards the sideline. Just communicate through the damn headset. That would solve some of this, but this stuff gets wilder each day. I saw some other...
I love that he's pointing the finger back. He's trying to get out of trouble.
This Connor Stallions individual also started his own limited liability company where he was reselling used vacuums on Amazon, and he had a 2.2 out of 5 seller rating because people were complaining that the vacuums he was selling were damaged and missing parts.
And he had named a Michigan player as a partner in the LLC, and that player's like, I had nothing to do with this business.
Are we sure not getting this box from Connor Stallions, Cody?
Yeah,
I don't know.
By the way, next week.
I hope.
Hopefully next
I'm
week.
Still waiting on some updated shipping information, I'm a little worried. It feels like
don't you think someone will figure out how to intercept that signal in the headset? They use it in the NFL. So it'd be the same. You should have the same technology that the NFL has.
If they do, then we'll be talking about a different major scandal. But what do you want them to do? If it's not that's the next best option, because then at least it's channel based and harder to steal than holding up a giant poster board, you said, of some mirrored play that they can eventually figure out.
Yeah, again, thinking of college football, don't forget a huge game coming up later on this month, Sunflower Showdown, KU K-State, and you want to go to Jefferson's to watch the game. Jefferson's voted favorite wings in Kansas City by the Kansas City Star. You can check out the Lenexa and North Kansas City locations, and every customer that walks through the door is going to be entered to win free wings for a year. You got to be there on Saturday for that game. It's coming up in a few weekends, plus $2 off all pitchers during the KU K-State football game at both the Lenexa and North Kansas City Jefferson locations. Coming up next, though, a fresh look at who we think is coming out of the AFC, and one thing we're changing in the second half of the season for the Chiefs.
Cody and Gold on 610 Sports Radio, brought to you by GAN.
I think you're innocent, and I'm still in the league, so I think that's.
You're too nice.
Sorry, Cody.
We'll let the text line decide.
Yeah. I without giving details yet, let me just say this: you have to understand I'll just tell you. What was I supposed to do? I'm supposed to be the guy that just says, "Oh, I think I'm getting a good trade," and so I turn down every trade. BS.
We'll look at it. We'll discuss it.
We'll get to the conclusion on it. We'll get there in a second. 11:20.
I'm gonna be nicer to you because I think you did the correct thing in the end.
Oh, I know I did the correct thing.
Okay.
In the meantime, second half of the season. It's going to be week 11 by the time the Chiefs play again. It'll be mid-November by the time the Chiefs play again. We were just going through a stat that really tells the story. A stat that really tells the story about deep passes. So other than, go in and just create a miracle, what's the one change you're going to make on the offense in the second half of the season? Like, what's the one fix for you?
I would. So if I got to change anything about the way they're operating, I think you obviously have to stick on the offensive side of the ball, right? I mean, we wouldn't change anything really defensively based on the way that this season has started. So this is a one-way conversation. For me, I would play Kadarius Toney more. I was more of a Sky Moore believer than I was a Kadarius Toney believer. I understand he's had some ticky-tack injuries show up on the report, but there is absolutely no reason not to change your wide receiver rotation. You have had 9 full games to evaluate it. None of them have 300 yards. They barely have 200 yards as individuals. MVS is included in this. I would cut his snaps. I would cut Sky Moore snaps. And I would give Toney and Watson and Rice more. That would be my key 3 rotation going forward. The other guys can pick up the scraps for now. Sky can have his 15, 17 like he had in the last one. I'm not saying he doesn't play, but you have got to tighten the rotation. Bill's self postseason tournament, we're down to 6 guys. We don't get to the 8th guy anymore stuff. If I got to choose one thing, it'd be that.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, in terms of whittling down the numbers, we've been saying that for weeks. And it sounds as though this coaching staff, at least at this point, just has not been willing to do it, to give it more time. And I'm hoping during the bye week and heading to the second half of the season, that's exactly what they do. I mean, I mentioned the Kadarius Toney play as well. I mean, that one play, it shows you why you get excited, but he's only getting 7 snaps. He's got to, when you're struggling in all these other areas, he has got to get more playing time going forward. So I'm with you there. The text line says Richie James. Yeah, I obviously think Richie James should get some more snaps because why not? That'd be pretty funny. But no, for me, other than the wide receivers, which is pretty obvious, and I'm with you 100%, I still think Jerick McKinnon is part of this solution. I think
that I would